Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. Welcome back to Inside the Birds podcast. We're going to start off this podcast, Adam, like we've done the past few podcasts. We're going to first thank all of the people who are part of law enforcement, hospitals, doctors, nurses, first responders, people working right now at essential stores, delivery. All of the people who are helping make the world run right now while most of us are quarantined. So we sincerely appreciate it. If you have not yet, check out our Twitter account at Inside Birds. We're trying to work with small businesses who are remaining open in the area to try to promote them a little bit during this time and give them exposure so people know where to go if they need specific things. So we thank everybody. We're very appreciative. And I know, Adam, we've picked up a lot of new followers, I'd say, in the last 3 or 4 weeks since probably we got back from the combine. Numbers are up, and we thank everybody for that. But now's a good time to remind everyone, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube page or check out our website, insidethebirds.com, which is now closing in on a month old. So we've got a great reaction to it, but it helps to subscribe to the website too. And again, if you're listening to our podcast, whatever platform that you have, if you can give us a rating, a positive review, even a critique, we'll take that too. But just review us and let us know how you're feeling. We appreciate it. And of course,
just one thing I want to add. We had a bunch of questions targeted to me, it seemed like, on this about ITB TV. We're only going to do one of those a week, and when we do it, we're just not going to do it for the hell of it to get it to do YouTube. It's going to be in addition to what we're doing, where something had happened.
Yes.
So what happened was Geoff said, "Hey, you want to do a YouTube?" I'm like, "Yeah." But what happened was we must have got, I'm not joking, 40 questions. People are pissed off the receiver position, like furious. Like, it's not like we didn't tell you this was going to happen a month ago, but now that it's actually happened, like to 100%, people are furious.
Yeah. Well, so, I think we expected that too, right?
Right. We did, but so Geoff and I, we devoted 20 minutes on YouTube, Geoff, to this?
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes last night.
Yeah. So, and
the other one. Right.
We appreciate, your feedback. And we quite frankly, at least half of these shows that we do are based on your questions and your issues with the Eagles.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then
we're going to get to them tonight.
By the way, you guys write, you're pretty much writing these for us, because we look at all your questions. Like, you know what? When I sent Geoff the script that I see us doing and with his stuff, I go, here's what I think we should cover. It's based on the questions we're getting. So, guys, you're doing a great job.
Right. We thank you. And now we have so many different avenues to be able to answer your questions. 2 podcasts, at least 1 video a week that we've been doing. And then, of course, insidethebirds.com, where you can submit a hashtag AskITB question, and we do mailbags throughout the week where we answer those too. So hopefully we're getting to as many questions as we can, because we do get a lot. So we really appreciate the interaction. All right, so let's start off, Adam. Right now, we do this podcast. It drops Thursday morning. It's Wednesday night for us. The Eagles have made a move today in free agency. One of those moves that we've seen Howie make over the past 2 or 3 years, trying to patch a hole with short-term solutions, a 1-year contract for Nikel Roby-Coleman, plays the slot, has played it fairly well the last few years. And again, he was released already. So much like a guy like Malik Jackson last year, or some other guys, I think Patrick Robinson that year of 2017, he signed someone who is a street free agent. It doesn't count against them in the comp pick formula. And let's take a look at the secondary as it is, Adam, because what strikes me as different about this year's secondary, with now Will Parks added and Jalen Mills re-signed, is that they've got seemingly more movable parts now than they've had in the past years. It seems like everybody in their secondary right now is someone who can play a versatile position, who has played either in or out or safety here or hybrid that. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, in fact. Okay, so let's start with Roby-Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
He's small. Okay, he's barely 5'8", as one guy said to me, soaking wet. I knew who he was. I've covered him before. I've reported on him, but it's been a long time. He signed a 3-year deal with the Rams, and they declined to pick up his option for this year. And a small option on it. They've had a cap challenge. So I said, after my former teammate at ESPN, Joe Anderson, put that out there that Roby Coleman told him he's going to sign with the Eagles. I was like, wow, I didn't see this coming. I'm wondering why they're doing this. So, first of all, I don't know if you realize this, and Chris Harris went out and said, he's quoted, it was either the Chargers or the Eagles. So Geoff, if Chris Harris is going to sign in Philly, I still find it hard to believe, but Chris Harris would know.
Yeah.
Well, he's obviously going to be their slot corner. So it tells you, Geoff. well, yeah, but you're not playing him. You're not going to play him on the outside. I can't see. Here's the way I look at that, and we'll get into the way the depth chart looks right now. But before I get there, this is important to talk about. Let's just say they were going to sign Chris Harris. They were absolutely positively, no matter what, on Byron Jones. Okay, they were also number 2 guy was Slay. Right. So what I need to find out would have been, were they going to sign a trade for Slay, sign to an extension, also sign Harris to be the slot corner? I don't know, but it seems to me that would have been the plan, right?
It's a good question. I wonder if we can split the difference here and think that, and again, they've done this before, and this goes back to Jim Jackson, where you sign a guy, a corner, who's physical, quick, but short. So you start him at the outside on first and second down, and then you move him into the slot and then replace him with a different outside corner who may have more speed. Now, I don't know who that guy would be in this scenario because they just don't have anybody right now who has the speed to play the boundary, right? That's why Jalen Mills is back but not playing there. Certainly they have picks, and I think a good way in the NFL these days, and we'll probably talk about this down the line, when you draft cornerbacks, it's right now it's the toughest position you're seeing that kids from college are having the toughest adjustment to in the NFL. Used to be quarterbacks, but now quarterbacks come to the NFL just fine. Cornerbacks struggle. We've seen it with Sidney Jones. We've seen it with a lot of first-round picks, right? So I'm thinking that maybe a good way to integrate a guy who you draft is by specializing him. Okay, you don't start. You're going to come in on the third down. You'll play the outside in this situation while we move Chris Harris into the slot.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, let me just add a couple things to that. So we don't know. Also, just to add to what I said earlier, what we also don't know is, was Chris Harris just, if they didn't get Jones, or obviously, or Slay, was he the third in line? We don't know that.
That's a good point.
Well, I'm going to find out. I'm very curious. Now, one thing, folks, that I find to be very interesting, in 2017, the Eagles signed their slot corner Patrick Robinson on March 28th. So think about that. 3 years later, they're signing, the way that I understand it, as soon as I saw Josina's tweet, I'm like, okay, I didn't know about this. What the hell's going on here? What I thought Avonte Maddox is their guy. That's what I thought. They love him, but you hit it. You nailed it. They are really looking, and I alluded to this since we got back from the combine. The big thing with Jim Schwartz wants is to be able to run the defense like he wants to run it. He's not being able to find flexibility, as you talked about. He is not being able to, for matchup purposes, explain to me what a great source, Avonte Maddox, if he plays on the outside against a guy who's not super tall, but Avonte could run. Darius Slay, obviously, if they're gonna play man movement, where the man, if they're gonna play man instead of playing man size like they used to, Slay will match up on the top receiver. Maddox, if they don't draft a guy in the first or second round, or if they draft a guy in the third round, I don't think is ready. Maddox could play outside and cover that guy, the other guy, because he can run. Now, we don't know about Sidney Jones. Rasul Douglas, they're just backups, okay? If Sidney Jones starts week 1, they've got a problem. That's not what they're looking for, okay? Let's be honest about it.
Either that or he was incredible in training camp, but I doubt that's going to happen, right?
Last spring, not summer, last spring, two team sources said the light seemed to go on for him.
Right.
And then, just like Rasul Douglas, the light went off. So the problem is the reason why they're in this mess is because they haven't been able to develop anyone to the point that they want, other than Maddox. Even Maddox, after he unfortunately got that neck injury, was not quite the same. So let's move this forward here. Geoff, what does the depth chart look to you at corner right now?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that, and even digging into it a little bit, that they see Maddox as a very skilled cornerback who can play a lot of different positions. So if they had to play a game today And even if they did draft corners, I'm not sure, first, second round, whatever, that they're ready to be starting that corner or corners. So I would say what you just mentioned is very key. You have Slay, who can trail the number one receiver. I think Avonte Maddox is your number 2 cornerback, your number 2 outside corner, and either LeBlanc or Roby Coleman, probably Roby Coleman as long as he comes as advertised, is your slot cornerback. And LeBlanc is your depth. He's, been hurt a lot, so you can't rely on him. But he is your backup slot to Nickel Roby Coleman. And then when you get into your sub packages, then you've got Jalen Mills to be that hybrid corner safety role. You've got Will Parks that you can use in a hybrid role. Rodney McLeod is probably going to be, if we get to safety now, your deep safety. And we'll see. I still think Parks is going to wind up being your box safety. We'll see how that goes with Mills or not, but the competition will decide. And it does seem like when you start to name all those names that Rasul Douglas's days on the team could be numbered.
Yeah, so what happens is, folks, is that all of the names that Geoff just mentioned, they all have positional versatility. Maddox, if they, depending on the opponent, Schwartz could use him at safety. The next week he use him at corner. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, there are 3 things with Maddox that they love. He's smart, he's tough, and he's competitive, in addition to being obviously athletic.
Right.
He's just a rare kid. You remember when Schwartz put him at
safety
at safety against the Titans. We were shocked by that, and it actually worked. I mean, he held his own. So now, Geoff, the question is, what do they do at corner in the draft? We all would agree that they're going receiver in 1, even if they trade back. Corner, we're going to devote one show to corner and safety. That'll be obviously before the draft we'll do that. Like tonight we're going to do in this show we're going to do receiver. But man, corner, it's better now than it was because you've got the ability to move. You got Roby Coleman here now. You can move Maddox outside if you want to. Mm-hmm. But I would tell you everything is in pencil right now. Things could change tomorrow. I'd be careful saying Matt. I would be very surprised if Maddox starts week 1 on the outside. That means that they're completely ignoring corner early. They need a true outside corner, Geoff. They just do. Now, could Maddox do it? Yeah, because he's fast.
But I'm going to go back to my original point that corner is very hard to play in the NFL these days, especially for these kids coming out of college. I mean, for every first round, there's usually 4 or 5 that go in the first round, and 3 of them wind up don't making it. So I have no problem if the plan for whoever they draft, whether it's first or second or third round, is to integrate that person into sub packages first before you make them a starter. So that might mean a guy like Maddox is the starter for week 1, week 2, week 3, and you see what happens as the season goes along. I'll say this. I want to defend Maddox because you and I like him. We've liked him since they drafted
love him.
him.
I think he's he's got a chance to be really good. Go ahead.
Yeah, but people came at me, a couple of people on Twitter today saying how Maddox struggles. Look what happened against Devontae Adams. Now, there's 2 points to make here. 3 points, actually. 1, that's 1 game. 2, he moved in that game. They had an injury on the outside. They had to move Maddox from middle slot where he practiced all week to outside. But maybe the best point is one that you've already made in this, and that Maddox will not have to ideally ever cover a receiver of Devontae Adams' caliber as long as Darius Slay is on the field and trailing, right? Boom. So now you've got Maddox against everybody's number 2 wide receiver, and they're not all built like Devontae Adams. There's a lot of good ones, but not like him.
Right. So if he's playing corner, we don't know for sure, folks. Again, we're in March now. People are acting like the season starts tomorrow. Well, he's the best that they have left, so he's got to start outside. Sure, he's very athletic. He's a good football player, but if you had your druthers, I think you would be able to move him around for matchup purposes. And quite frankly, for the first time in 5 years, this is Schwartz's 5th year. I cannot believe it, but it's his 5th year. This is the first year, knock on wood, for him that he's going to be able to defend by personnel. He's never been able to do that. The criticism that he got last season, it's correct because it was on coaching tape, is he was so vanilla, clearly didn't trust anybody in the secondary, so he didn't challenge it. That's why they give him so many big plays. Because the personnel. The personnel is terrible.
It's funny. No matter how much we talk about the offense, every offseason, Jim Schwartz seems to get what he wants. I remember last year I had said on the podcast that I was told that the number 1 priority put forth by Jim Schwartz last year was defensive tackle, not edge rusher, not linebacker, not even corner. As right, it was D tackle, and the first big signing they made was Malik Jackson. Right.
Yeah.
Jim wants, Jim gets, and it's been that way for quite a while.
Right. Though, and by the way, it's Javon Hargrave. He pronounces it Javon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I only know this because I listened to an interview with him.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was Javon. He said Javon. So okay.
Javon. All right. Listen, he's coming to Philly now. This is the place where we say Asante Samuels, Alshon Jeffries. I mean, the list goes on and on.
I love that.
If he thinks we're getting Javon from day one, from the jump, he's got to have to rearrange his priority.
God. I seen last week. It's really funny. I don't know what something on my mention. Someone started a thread. It was phenomenal. I joined in on it. How many names people butcher? My favorite one, and I actually screwed it up. I know Chase Daniel personally a little bit. I call him Chase Daniels a couple times.
Oh, you did that too, huh?
Oh, I fell for it, dude. Come on. How could you not?
I don't know, man.
Come on, where'd the S go, dude? Could you put the S back on your name? Anyway.
We're the city that couldn't even. Well, I mean, who could blame us? But the guy had to be called Big V because there was no way we were getting Halapoulivaati Vaitai correct as many times.
By the way, how about some jabroni getting mad at me on Twitter because I called him Large V and he got all mad. The guy goes,
I didn't see that.
And I muted the guy. The guy gets all fussy with me because I was making fun. I was like, dude, no, I'm just saying it was a joke. It was a play on the name. Why are you getting so upset? I just muted the guy. I'm like, just get out of here.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but he did an interview with a Detroit report, kind of like a Skype interview.
Okay.
And she referred to him as just V.
So, right?
The guy's got all this money now. Yeah, he's big time. He's not even Big V anymore. He's just V.
You know what? By the way, he just had a second kid, I think.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Little B?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, boy. Yeah, exactly. So, Jeff, let's get back here. So we've done the corner position.
Yeah.
Roby Coleman is a really nice signing for them. He upgrades the nickel position. It's going to give him more flexibility to move guys around. Mm-hmm. Let's not put guys in stone in third week of March that a guy's starting somewhere.
Right.
Let them get to camp. The way I see it, if Roby Coleman plays well, there's no competition. Slot corner, he's the guy.
Correct.
If he's bad, they won't keep him. I mean, if he doesn't play like they think or practice like they think. Now, there are parts to this, and a lot of fans brought this up, and we need to bring it up. It's a great point. The lack of an offseason, Jeff, all the stuff that Schwartz wants to do.
Right.
I don't know if you can do it because remember now, all these new coaches. It's particularly in the D line room is way different. Mm-hmm. You got a new secondary coach who I know the Eagles are really excited about. I don't know if you can do all this stuff if you're not going to have these kids until who the hell knows? I don't know.
Correct. I don't know. But that's a challenge. See, that's a challenge that not every team faces. But I would say the teams that have the new coaching staffs and the teams that are spending money like crazy, and the Giants kind of fit that both of those. They have a new coaching staff and they spent a lot of money in free agency on new players. Those are the teams to me that really stand to suffer the most because you got a bunch of new guys coming into a new system. Everybody's got to be on the same page, and here we are wondering when these teams are going to be able to reassemble.
Correct. So there's some challenges here, folks. No one has any idea when the virus issue, the pandemic, is going to recede and where we can go back to normalcy. It could be June, could be August, it could be May. No one has any idea. I'm not going to guess. We'll move on to
real quick, Adam. I want to make one last point about the secondary because I sense that I'm intrigued by the versatility that we're mentioning, where guys are talking a lot about the ability to play multiple positions. But I do want to come back to one point, and that's three of these guys: Mills, Roby Coleman, and Will Parks. At least three of them. I mean, even McLeod you can throw in there are on basically 1 year deals, which is, to me, is a way of saying, look, there's not like 100% confidence that these guys are going to be wonderful players this year. So while we like the versatility, the talent level of this secondary right now, outside of Slay and Maddox, I think is still questionable. You have a right to be skeptical about how good this secondary is at the moment.
Oh, look, you're adding all these new players when you haven't had practice time. Mm-hmm. On paper, just because you have more talent doesn't mean you're going to be better. They've got to play like it. I'm very excited about Marquand Manuel, talking to people who've worked with him. Ton of energy, very demanding. He got a raw deal in Atlanta. Dan Quinn decided to blame everyone else and fire his 3 coordinators 2 years ago. So Marquand's getting another shot here, and I know. Look, the numbers were horrific since Corey Unlin was their DB's coach. If you look at the number of big plays in total yardage, worse than the National Football League since 2015 or 14. Whenever he was on Chip Kelly's staff, everybody loves Corey as a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the numbers were bad, and now you could bring up the talent level at corner was bad. Okay, I'm not going to argue with it, but the numbers have been bad, and they have to be better. And from what I'm hearing. He was expecting a lot of improvement from technique and consistency. So we'll see what happens.
All right. We want to talk about wide receivers. So before we do that, I want to thank our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They are continuing, even in this sports drought, to churn out content on the Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, Flyers. They got podcasts. They got it all. So they're always trying to enhance the fan experience with their coverage of these teams, including, the union they get into college. So make sure you're checking out PHLSportsNation.com and getting your fix of Philadelphia sports content. And also now's a good time to pause for a word from our great sponsors. Hey, it's Geoff Mosher. Adam Caplan and I love using Anchor for our Inside the Birds podcast every week. It's so user-friendly, anyone can create their own podcast, and you should too. Just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Anchor gives you everything you need to start your own podcast from your phone or computer. Its creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast for a professional sound, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so many other platforms. It can be heard by everyone, just like Inside the Birds. You can also make money from your pod with no minimum listenership. What are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to create your podcast today. The Earn Your Leisure podcast, hosted by Rashard Bilal and Troy Millings, examines the latest trends in finance. Listen as the duo interviews entrepreneurs from various industries as they break down their business models and share some of their hardships and triumphs that they've experienced along the way. Want to learn about the real estate game? Unclear how the stock market works? They gotcha. Interested in starting a truck company, vending machine business, or investing in the mobile home market? Then check them out as they've got you covered. Earn Your Leisure is a college business class mixed with pop culture. So if you want to become better equipped in business, head over to Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and follow the Earn Your Leisure podcast today so you never miss an episode. All right, Adam, we said we were going to talk about wide receivers and kind of take this conversation that we had in the ITB TV video and move it forward a little bit. Let's get an overview of the wide receiver position. Let me ask you, start off right now. If the Eagles had to play a game tomorrow, because we just did that with the secondary, they're coming out first down on their own 25. We're laughing. I didn't even finish the question.
I know, dude. You already told me what it is. Dude, the way you set it up. Go ahead, but I know where you're going here. No, they have no one to line up.
Yeah, so what's the personnel looking like at the skill position outside of Miles Sanders at running back?
Well, they're great at tight end, but
right, that's what I'm. Yeah,
right, but
it's got to be 12 personnel, right?
Yeah, receiver. Deshaun has to be because that's all they have, and Greg Ward would be their slot receiver.
Right.
Alshon, who the hell knows? I've been asked about 57,000 times about this. I don't see a way the hell he'd be on the team this fall, but I've been fooled before because, quite frankly, I don't want to make this an Alshon show here, but they owe him over $11 million. He's got a fully guaranteed option bonus.
Mm-hmm.
They owe him, the cap number, the cap impact is a little bit over $26 million. Someone told me they could just a contract guy told me, look, they'd be smart. What they ought to do is just pay him this year. Keep him on the roster. It's cheaper to keep him on the roster than to cut him, rather than have to go through post June 1 and
mm-hmm.
get nailed next year. Get hit this year and next year. I'm like, okay, but I'm not I'm not them. I don't know what they should do.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, they're screwed at receiver right now. Now, it's okay in terms of the long-term future. This is a great year to not have any receivers if you want to build for 21, 22, and 23. Great
mm-hmm.
year to do it. But the problem is, what are you doing this year? Like, let's say they draft 3 guys, right? They're all going to have to line up and play. You can't. JJ Arcega-Whiteside will be involved.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be on the team no matter what happens. but you don't know what he is. His rookie season obviously was not what they were looking for.
Right.
You look at Mark and Michelle and Shelton Gibson and Deontay Burnett and Robert Davis. They're roster filler right now.
Right. I kind of wonder if they had an OTA today before the draft, if they came out in practice and, Doug says, let's get 12 personnel on the field. So you got Ertz and you got Goddard out there. You got Deshaun Jackson on one side. If right now today, even though Greg Ward has been a slot corner as best there, if he would still be the other outside corner over J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Dude, it's so bad out on the outside. I don't know. They don't have anyone. It's
You're
like
right.
they just don't have anyone. So let's move this forward.
Yeah, let's talk about guys who are actually going to, probably play on the outside and be good at the draft. Jeremiah put out an interesting tweet. I don't know if you saw it. Daniel Jeremiah put out a tweet of something that I brought it up on our Combine podcast that it was the day after wide receivers ran the 40. And I had told you, I talked to a few guys in the scouting community who said they wouldn't be surprised if Henry Ruggs was drafted ahead of Jerry Jeudy, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I would be shocked.
I'd still be shocked too. But, it is a flavor type thing.
All right. So because I know we're going to have people listening, because this is not just a Eagles receiver review.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're reviewing really where we see the receivers and how they fit and all that. The order that I have, and I have probably over a dozen opinions on each player, probably the top 15 receivers. It's most likely going to be Jeudy, Lamb, Ruggs. Now, could Lamb go before Jeudy? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Look, I wouldn't blame you if you did that, because Lamb is a tremendous football player. He's probably the closest to DeAndre Hopkins that I'm hearing in this draft. Now, the number 4 guy, after those first 3.
Right.
One guy I really trust tells me Shenault. He loves him. He's in his grades. He's got Shenault at 4.
Wow. Now, is he factoring in the injury, though? Does he think that he'll actually go?
Tape. He's going on tape.
Okay. That's different, though. Okay.
Right. He's just going on tape study from last season. He goes, here's how I would grade it despite, I think, what do you have, sports hernia surgery or whatever? Sports muscle core
muscle, yeah.
Right. So, Shenault look, he was not healthy. He ran a 4.58, which obviously is nowhere near what he runs on tape. He is good. He's a top 6 receiver. He's an outside receiver. He's got play strength, play speed, really gifted, but he's got to overcome. You got to see how his recovery is. Look, it's a common injury, but the problem is, Geoff, he can't run. He can't run for anyone because he's not allowed to.
Right.
Not only is he recovering.
Isn't it also true that he's had some other injuries in college?
Yes, that was brought up to me. Yeah. But this guy said, he goes, if I'm picking, this kid's tape is so good, I'm putting him at 4. Now, what I would tell this guy is he's the only one to bring this up, that Shenault would be 4. Now, the way I think it's going to go, and I know people brought up Justin Jefferson, the 4th guy is going to be one of 4 people. It's going to be Rager, Jefferson. I don't think it's going to be Shenault, but I just know that a lot of guys do like his tape. Mims is sort of the wild card,
right?
Who is going to be a mid-second round pick, I believe, before the Senior Bowl, and then he's blown up, as you know. I need more intel.
Right.
Michael Pittman Jr. You remember Michael Pittman, the Bucs running back, the Cardinals. His son is really talented.
Hamler.
He's a Hamler. Hamler's in that conversation. But the teams tell me, and they're trying to get over to. He's just small,
right?
He's so fast. He's a returner. He's got everything you like. He's just as small. You have to get over the fact that he's small. If you can't, you're not drafting the first one. He's not even a consideration.
Do you worry? I wonder if teams worry that he's more Tavon Austin than Deshaun Jackson.
Okay, he is Deshaun light. From what I hear, no, he's not a gadget player. No, Tavon Austin.
Well, when Tavon was drafted by the Rams, I think, 9th overall, they didn't think he was a gadget player either.
But you're right. You're right in that that's what he turned out to be. I remember a coach who was with the Rams for one season telling me, he said, you could run with this. And I did when I was talking about him. He said he absolutely would not be a gadget player for that season. And by the way, he wound up being one.
Yeah.
So
people are wrong sometimes. Yeah.
Well, it's because they come in thinking he's one thing, and then when you coach him, he's another because he can't do it.
Yeah. Isn't that the old Tarzan Jane thing that Bill Parcells popular on tape? They look
right.
They look like they're Tarzan, but on tape they're Jane.
Like Jane. But the problem is, it's usually a bigger guy.
Yeah.
Who looks the part, but he really can't play.
Right.
Tavon Austin's still in the league. I mean, he can do some things, but I'm not. You know what's interesting? I'm not hearing T. Higgins at all.
Yeah.
At all. Now I'm sure he'll go within the first 40, 45.
Right.
Ayuk, a lot of guys like.
Yeah.
Within that first 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I see it now, in the first 6 or 7, the order, we're too early. We're 4 weeks away, so we're not going to get the order correct yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the top 3. We all know who they are: Lamb, Judy, Lamb, Ruggs. After that, it's either Jefferson, Chenault, Rager. What Rager's got going are 4 things: play strength, play speed, high character, incredibly competitive. The one knock on him, and it's true because it shows on tape, had some drops last season.
Right.
It's on tape. You can't deny it because it's a fact. But that's really the only thing you can knock him for. Plenty of receivers have had some drops.
Yeah, some of that also is tied to the quarterback switch, because his junior year numbers are much better than his, or sophomore, whatever it was, 2 years ago. Yeah. His numbers were great. This past year, not so much. And a lot of people around the situation feel like the quarterback switch took a toll on the entire offense, including his
offense was bad. And here's a great line. I need to clean it up because I know there's some youngins listening.
Mm-hmm.
This one person on guy said in text, he's a mother blank. He's so blank and physical. You get so excited popping the tape in. So that's an unbelievable. By the way, this guy was not complimentary of anyone like this,
right?
Of all the receivers, but this guy also, he pointed out that he did have some drops, and he needed to learn why there were drops.
Uh-huh.
And I also don't know about the drops in previous years, but this kid's tape. This kid is he's probably one of the cleanest, meaning you never have to worry about him.
Right.
Never. And obviously he's Monty Rager's son who played for the Eagles and Colts.
And I do wonder how much that helps in this process. You don't have pro days. You don't have as much pre-draft process as you normally would have. You're trying to FaceTime with guys. You're trying to get to know them as much as you possibly can. But here in this situation, if you're trying to decide between Rager or, like you guys said, Chenault, who had the injury and everything, or Justin Jefferson, Rager is a guy. I mean, his father was an employee. You can get all the information you need. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, we talk about their vetting, whether it's coaches or past draft picks, and this should not be a vetting issue. They should know everything about this kid, left and right. So if they wind up taking the kid, I would have to think it's because they just felt really, really strong about the things that they learned.
Yeah, but the tape is so dynamic at times. And by the way, look at his. I'm actually going to tweet a couple YouTube stuff on some of the guys as I get it.
Uh-huh.
When you see, I was not really familiar with the player until I started doing work. I mean, I know he was Monte's son, but I hadn't gathered stuff on him yet. And then when we moved to Jefferson, it's really interesting. He ran better than expected 4.43, but he doesn't play to that speed.
Mm-hmm.
Good player, by the way. But more teams that I talk to, the more they say he's a slot receiver. Eagles don't need that. That's not. As one personal guy said, he goes, you know what? With Justin, Justin Jefferson is, he's going to be a really good player if the guy on the outside has got speed. Then he won't look speed deficient. He goes, on tape, he does not play to 4.43.
Right.
He goes, he's a really good football player, very competitive, very accomplished. It's kind of like when you go with these guys who are not burners.
Mm-hmm.
You better find somebody on the outside who could stretch, because then it makes you.
I hear that. I hope that this doesn't become a case where like you're passing on the next Michael Thomas from the Saints because the guy doesn't have this tape of him just blowing guys away out on the boundary all the time. I mean, Mike Thomas lines up everywhere. He doesn't run a 4.3 40. He just catches every single thing thrown his way and has elite footwork and leveraging and the ability to play a cornerback's leverage against him and get open. And Jefferson's a good wide. Jefferson's very productive. So I would hope that they don't just look and say he's not a burner. That's not my guy.
Right. So when you overlook the receiver position, the great thing about this one, we'll get more into Chase Claypool, who had the amazing combine.
Forgot about him, yeah.
Right. We'll get more. And Devin Duvernay could fly. He's going to go in the third round. He could really run. Sean Jefferson's kid, Van Jefferson, who unfortunately had an injury, I believe.
Right.
And as you go through the list, the Watkins kid from Southern Miss, Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I like the kid from Minnesota. His name is Johnson, right? Tyrone? No, not the Fanaticos. Who's the wide receiver from Minnesota who killed Penn State, and now I can't even remember his
name is Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. I thought he was good. I thought the kid from Wisconsin, Cephas, is a good player.
Right. He's another kid. This draft is so good with mid-round guys, third or fourth round. But what you have to do, because you if you're the Eagles, and I hate saying this because I don't believe in it, but you don't really have a choice. Sometimes fans fall into the trap of, they have to draft. They have to draft a receiver in round one because they don't have anybody. The draft is never about 1 year. It's always about the future.
Right.
But to the fans' point, they're so dire at receiver, and now for the future. Geoff, they have to go at 21, or even if they drop down, they have to go for receiver. They don't have a choice.
All right, let me ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot just because this is a fun game to play.
Do it.
They're drafting at 21, and on the board are C.J. Henderson, the cornerback from Florida, Justin Jefferson, the receiver from LSU, and Jalen Reagor. I'm asking you to be. I'm not even asking you who you think the Eagles will take.
Henderson is an interesting player. Henderson's a real interesting player because of his measurables.
Yeah, he can flip the hips and run.
He's real interesting, but it wouldn't be he. You said Henderson, Reagor, and who else?
Justin Jefferson.
Oh, Reagor, because Rager's way faster and play speed.
Well, yeah, more
better.
Explosive. But that just shows you.
Yeah.
All right, so really, what I should have said is Reagor versus Henderson, because you have explosive corner who can flip the hips and run versus explosive wide receiver who can give you everything you want. And honestly, you could probably make an argument that they're equally talented at their positions.
Yeah, I don't know where Henderson's going to go yet. We'll get to his position in another time. I need to do more work on him. He's real bleeping intriguing. He's his 40 time. When you have a corner who runs 4.39 at a SEC school, we're talking about C.J. Henderson, the corner from Florida. When you have a DB like that who could run like that, okay, you've got everybody's attention. Yep. I need to dig more on him. Obviously, it's a neat position. And the Eagles have done a lot at safety, or pretend. Well, obviously, whatever you want to call it, hybrid players. I don't know. I don't know whatever you want to call these things. But look, Henderson's going to go in the top 35. He could go obviously 20 to 32. But one thing I want to caution people, folks, in digging with teams, there are 7 teams from 21 to 31 that could go for a receiver. So I know people in mocks are mocking the Eagles to trade down. How the hell can they do that, Geoff?
No, I don't know. Unless they only move 2 or 3 slots, unless there's not a big run on wide receivers. But I still don't see how there isn't going to be.
Well, here you go. Okay, 21 Eagles receiver, 23 for the Patriots. They need a receiver. 25 for the Vikings traded Diggs, receiver. 26 potentially opposite Devontae Parker.
Right. Well, the only thing I would say is, Adam, how many teams above them, though, are all of a sudden who might have needed a receiver before may not take a receiver now?
Well, Jacksonville 20 could take a receiver. The Raiders absolutely will look at a receiver. They have 2 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
They're real bad opposite Tyrell Williams.
Dallas?
This is, look.
Doubt
it. Yeah, obviously with Cooper. And,
right. Atlanta's not going to get a receiver. Denver might at 15. Denver might.
Might. Cortland Sutton on one side. They need someone else. Yeah. Right. You look at 29 Titans absolutely play for a receiver. Packers absolutely they are dying for speed opposite Devontae Adams. 31 right. The Niners, I'm told, absolutely in the market for a receiver fairly early to go opposite Deebo Samuel. Remember, Emmanuel Sanders is gone. So if you're the Eagles, you better get your guy. Don't play around. They played around in 14 with they would have taken what the hell did I report 6 years ago? They would have taken Brandon Cooks in 2014, but the Saints found out that they wanted him and traded ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
So look, you got to be careful here. For whatever team you are picking in the 20s, you can't play around with receiver. Deep. See, folks, there are tiers.
Mm-hmm.
The first 3, as we mentioned, and then there's a drop off. Then there are about 3 or 4 of the same, though. I think Rager's the guy everybody's intrigued by, and Mims is the wild card. This kid's numbers are so good. Yeah. He's so big, and it could move. Baylor. Baylor's issue is their offense is not great. So it's just his tape might not be as good as Rager's, but man, Mims is incredibly intriguing. I cannot wait to see what happens with him.
You know what I want to do, and we'll get this information for a pod down the road. We should kind of dig in and find out how this wide receiver class compares to the one you just mentioned, where I forget what year it was now. Was it 2012 where it was Sammy Watkins and Odell Beckham and Mike Evans and
that was 14. That was 14. Yeah,
14, right. And then Brandon Cooks and then Kelvin Benjamin. So that's 5 right there. I thought there were 6 receivers taken in the first round of that draft.
Not sure. But the thing about that draft was, and I know people brought this up, it's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful. Look, the hit rate of first round picks is not. It's very checkered over a series of years of receivers being good from the first round. It's very mixed. But this year, they're like, as I said, it's a top 3. Then there's a drop off. But the fact of the matter is, when you really look at the group, 4 through 9 is pretty good. It's just a matter of what warts do you find when you grade the tape. As you said, Geoff, the problem is now they can't bring guys in. So this is where, by the way, and teams are doing this. When I want to add a little nugget here. Teams are doing Skype and Zoom for instead of visits,
right?
And they're also having calls with team psychiatrists or psychologists, whatever the hell you want to call them.
I don't know, but can I get the number?
What's that?
Can I get that number?
Yeah, right. I hear you. Right. But all teams are doing it. They talked to a bunch of teams this week. That's what they have to do because they can't have guys in.
Right.
You really have to make sure that you've got your character at receiver. And why I put this out when we were at the combine, where the Eagles were really hell bent on getting guys who get it at the receiver position, who are about not about themselves, they're about the team. The reason why they're in this position at receiver, where they're the worst of the National Football League at it, in terms of what they have on the roster, it's because they just have not developed that group. Now, when you go through, let's go back to Chip Kelly, okay, and then you get to Doug Peterson, okay. You look at who did Chip have as a receivers coach? I don't even remember. Do you remember?
Well, it started off as, I want to say, John Lovett. Was it the guy from Central?
God.
No, that was D-backs, right?
Lovett was out. Yeah, he moved him around.
I can't remember who his first wide receivers coach is. I can't believe that the name is escaping me right now.
But if you look at Greg Lewis, fired after year 1. Gunter Brewer, fired after year 1.
Yep.
Told to go back to college. They weren't going to bring him back. Carson Walsh, fired. Now they love Aaron Moorhead's a stud from talking to guys who work with him. He's got passion. He's got presence. They have not had a receiver coach under Doug Peterson, I'm told, who's had presence. This guy has got presence. He played in the National Football League like Greg Lewis, but Greg Lewis is very green at the job. Now Greg's doing a better job for Kansas City. But you're going to see this group improve. But the problem is coming out of this, I can't call it a lockout, obviously, but dealing what we're dealing with, man. Aaron Moorhead's got a real challenge on his hand when they get all these young kids in there, man. They have to hit the ground running, Geoff. They're not going to have a lot of time to develop these guys.
No, it's going to be a race, and we'll see how that goes. Man, some guys are just naturally gifted, like Miles Sanders missed all of the camp last year, and he still was able to integrate quickly, but some guys need all the snaps and OTAs that they can get. So that'll be something that we'll be keeping our eyes on when NFL actually returns, and then we get OTAs and then camps and going forward. All right, that'll put a little wrap on this wide receiver and secondary talk and this whole edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Want to thank our friends at 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you are listening to them. You got me and Shander have been on from noon to 2, Monday through Friday, followed by Mike Gill and Ryan Rothstein, and occasionally our producer Hunter Brody fills in on that as well. So make sure you're checking it out and downloading the free mobile app at 973ESPN.com. And, of course, check out the YouTube page of Hunter Brody as he's still giving them Still giving the passionate fan takes and
what's he saying now? I mean, we got no sports. What the hell is he saying?
Hunter does not run out of things to say or opine about. I can guarantee that. Plus, he's got some pretty good projects that are along the way. So I'll just give him a shout out.
By the way, folks, let me say something about Hunter. I've watched 2 or 3 of his videos, particularly after Sixers games, because I'm a pissy Sixers fan. I'm extremely passionate. Hunter's about as passionate as I am about the Sixers. He gets, or whatever Philly sports team, the only one I really follow closely. I follow the Phillies a lot, but the one I'm passionate most about, the Sixers. Hunter goes off when he's pissed off. I mean, off, and it's not fake. It's like really real. I find it. I love when. Yeah, it is. When people are passionate, I love it. And we all love passionate people, It's awesome.
He's also got some new projects coming up. So I just recommend everybody follow him on Twitter at Broads81, and you'll find out everything he's been doing. By the way, me, him, and Frank Close do a Phillies podcast. I hope everybody's checking out the Powder Blue podcast that you can find on any one of our Twitter accounts. So thanks to Hunter for everything he's done for this podcast as well. Make sure you're checking out the website, InsideTheBirds.com. Andrew DeCecco has been doing a great job breaking down some of the new signings by the Eagles with all 22 footage and making GIFs. So check us out there, InsideTheBirds.com. Adam's been writing. I've been writing. Check Adam out on @Caplan NFL on Twitter. Me on Twitter @Geoff Mosher NFL. Big shout out to all of our new followers and everybody who's hopped aboard in the last few months. Thank you so much for all of your interaction, all of your feedback. We aim to please. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, and you probably like music too. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free. That's right, you don't need a premium account. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. You can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are. You can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with social media platforms like Instagram. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. Just search for Inside the Birds on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me, Geoff Mosher, so you never miss an episode of Inside the Birds. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service, and now it can be your go-to for podcasts too.